Well, hey everybody, it's Stella with Kentucky Spin. I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you a little bit today about communication and the key to success. And I want to give you my top 5 communication tips that have really helped me along my journey and I think will help you. So number 1, be intentional and be real with people. That is so important nowadays, and to do things with purpose. Don't just communicate with somebody and not have a reason. Be sure that you do it intentionally and with purpose. And also, don't be fake about your communication with folks. Be real, be honest, be transparent. I think that is real important. The other thing is listen more than you speak. I believe that is probably a key to a lot of our communication problems. We tend to jump right in and start talking before we listen and figure out maybe what the other person is trying to communicate to you. And sometimes we only talk about ourselves. I used to have a friend a long time ago that I'm not very close with now, but when we were really close, I realized I knew nothing about her because I was the one who always did all the talking. So listen more than you speak. We have 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth. So remember that. The third one is practice patience. Allow others to speak and listen to their needs above yours. I think that really helps to have successful communication with people is when we begin to listen more than we speak. The fourth one is watch your body language, because that says a whole lot about if you're listening intently or if you're preoccupied. If you're texting and on your phone, someone else is not going to think you're listening to them, and they may be offended by that. So remember that. And then the 5th thing is stop complaining. Find a place to meet in the middle with whoever you're communicating with, and don't get in a big argument. And no one really wants to be around a Debbie Downer all the time. So be sure that you keep your focus positive and that you stay connected with people in your communication. I think those are just really key. So again, number 1 was be intentional about your communication. Number 2, listen more than you speak. Number 3, practice patience. Number 4, watch your body language. And number 5, stop complaining. Be positive in what you're doing right now. No matter what the outcome to everything that we're going through right now is, it's not going to be forever. There will be a finish to this. And we want to make sure that we've communicated things correctly and purposefully. So I hope you all enjoy this beautiful day. I'm sitting out on my dock right now, and it's absolutely fabulous. Remember, we're here at Kentucky Spin to help you any way that we can. So please reach out to us at www.kyspin.com. Have a great day.
Hey guys, it's Kelly with Kentucky Spin. I wanted to talk to you for a minute about communication. Communication, especially when dealing with advocacy, is so very important. It's actually critical to the success of the individual that you're advocating for or the cause that you're advocating for. Some things that I've learned about communication is to not storm in acting like a fool, first and foremost. I learned quickly that showing myself would get me nowhere. I also know a lot of you have probably learned the same thing. The most important part of communicating with those, especially who maybe have some power over a situation, is working together collaboratively to come to a mutual understanding for each other and the different roles that you play. I have a few stories. I'm not going to share them on here for time's sake. If you ever come to one of our communication workshops, you'll hear those stories where I really had to walk away from a bad situation where we weren't communicating at all and the outcome was not what I wanted. And then I had to go back and I had to apologize. And that's really hard to do sometimes, especially when you have such strong feelings about the situation you're advocating for or the person you're advocating for. So first and foremost, don't show yourself. Secondly, I highly recommend that if a situation gets emotional or out of control, don't be afraid to walk away. I can't remember how many times I left a meeting that was so very important. I left the meeting and would pull over on the side of the road and cry, or would, think, man, I should have said this, or I should have done that, or I wish I'd asked this question, but I was just too out of sorts during the time to do it. So don't be afraid to walk away if needed. Those are the most important things that I have to leave with you. If you have any other questions about how to communicate collaboratively with those who maybe have some power over some situations, please do not hesitate to reach out to Kentucky Spin. I hope you all are having a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey y'all, it's Michaela Evans with Kentucky Spin. Today we're talking about communication, and I am a very non-confrontational person. I'm also kind of shy and quiet around people that I don't know very well, and very reserved. So I have jotted down just a few tips that help me in ARC meetings or communicating in general when it comes to advocating for my child. One thing I do is I try to remain non-biased, and that's really important. I feel like it helps to focus on the problem and not the person. I just try to keep in mind that these people are just trying to do their job and doing what they think is right or what they've been told to do. And so it's not me against them, it's all of us together against the problem, and we try to work together to find a solution. And I have found that that helps. I also tend to get very emotional when I'm advocating for my child, so I get flustered and lose my train of thought. It's really hard for me to stay focused. So what I do and what I tell all my parents that I work with to do is to make a list of concerns ahead of time and bring them with you to a meeting. And check off your list as you go and make sure that you do address everything. It helps you to kind of regain that train of thought when you lose it, bring everything back into focus on where it's supposed to be, on what the concern is, and to communicate more clearly. Also, if it's an ARC meeting, make sure that everything is documented in that conference summary. I also refer back to my checklist one more time and make sure that all of my concerns are accurately documented before leaving the meeting. One thing that's helpful too, because I always find something that I forgot during the meeting, I send a follow-up email and just make sure that everything's reiterated again. That way you have it in writing. And also it helps kind of to keep a list of incidents or any kind of requests that you might have in writing as well. And it helps to stop and think about it beforehand, because when you're writing an email, if you lose your cool or find yourself losing your cool, you can regroup and it's not too late. It helps to kind of have that time to focus on what you want to say. And not let the emotions get in the way. Also, I think email is the greatest tool that we can use as parents and even as professionals. Because it keeps that ongoing record of communication. It also has a time and date stamp on everything that's sent, and it's easily able to be pulled up for reference and easily accessible. It also helps to keep communication on the other end professional when you're discussing a matter that maybe was previously a heated debate or feelings are flying high. You're going to get a more professional response, not emotional response from the other party as well. So those are just a few tips that have helped me when communicating with others when it comes to advocating for my child, and I hope they help you as well.
Hey, I hope y'all are doing well. It's Rhonda with Kentucky Spin. We're going to talk a little bit about communication, and I'll share some things that have really helped me because our nonverbal communication is just as important as our verbal. And this definitely applies to me because my mom will tell you I am definitely not a poker player. It is all over my face as I am taking things in. I'm very honest, not that everyone else isn't, but you actually can read it too. So you have to be very mindful of, because a lot of times the reaction may not exactly be what you're feeling or what you're going through or as you're taking information in. So really having to work on that. That's an area I have to really make sure that I pay attention to. I don't know that I've made huge strides, but I've been working on it. And there's all areas that we all find ourselves, we have to work to build that good communication skills, because that is so critical for ourselves, if we have a disability ourselves, or our children, our family members, anyone that we're advocating for in work, within family, social settings. Good communication is what's going to set the stage for your success and really to build those partnerships. Four of the tips that I wanted to share, my coworker said that really helped her is be open-minded. Don't let things cloud your judgment. And that's very hard and something we all do have to work on. And don't shut down. I also have to remind myself about this because I just, I sometimes will just come to a halt and be, okay, step back. Sometimes you do need to do the step back and really kind of step through things, but don't stay back, because that is going to damage communication and partnership with others. Share ideas. It's very important to share things with one another, because it's not a competition. It's not. It is, how can we complement one another? It's one of the great things that I love about working here at SPIN is we're not competing with one another. We complement one another very well. We have different expertise in different areas. So look at it in that way about communication with others, whether it be in your work, advocating for your child, or within social, family, friends. Look at it as how we complement one another. That will frame things in a whole other way for you when you are looking at communication. And don't judge. It's very hard not to, because we are human. But we don't know what anyone else, whether you are a parent, a teacher, a professional, we don't know the road that anyone else has taken or is in the process of taking. So always remind yourself that we need to kind of leave judgment at the door, because that can hinder good communication. So we hope these tips have helped, and you all take care, and I hope you all are safe and have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
What's up, guys? It's Ian here with Kentucky SPIN, and today's topic is communication and what are my top 5 tips. My first tip is listening. I know it sounds simple, but listening is so important. We can oftentimes miss things or sometimes get the answer to a question we have if we just waited just a couple more seconds to listen in. Also, I think listening shows respect and typically helps the conversation flow better just by listening. There's some people that I interact with on a daily basis that are often not listened to. So just listening and starting off listening sets the conversation off right. Another tip that I have is ask for clarification. I do this a lot because I'm constantly receiving information, and I want to make sure that I'm hearing things correctly and I'm not taking anything out of context and I'm not taking anything the wrong way. So if I have a question about something, I always ask, hey, when you said X, did you mean this? And I allow them to clear that up, or I allow them to confirm. And that helps me to know a couple things. One, it helps me know I received the right information. Two, if there was something I was supposed to do, like an action, some sort of action I was supposed to take, like follow up or write something or do something, I can take that away from the clarification I received. So I'm very big on asking for clarification. Third, I would say document. Depending on the conversation, it's really important to try to have documentation of what was said, who said what time it was, what day it was. And the reason why I say depending on the conversation, because if you're asking for something or if you need proof that you reached out to somebody at a certain time, you want to make sure that you have proof of that, you have documentation of that. Especially when it comes to advocating for yourself, advocating for a change, advocating for a specific service or something like that along those lines. But just in general, it's helpful to just save the email, archive the email, screenshot date and time, screenshot the email, whatever's convenient for you to try to just keep record of that. And even if it's just a reminder to remind yourself, oh, I did reach out to them on such and such day at such and such time, that's always helpful to have. Fourth, I would say, think of your approach. So if you're contacting a business person or entity, you want to have a business-like approach. So when I talk to businesses and stuff, depending on what the ask is or what the conversation is about, I want to have everything official. So, I announce myself with my name, my full name if possible. I'm very quick. I'm to the point. And I make it clear what the ask is or what the conversation is about very early on, because when you're dealing with business, people they don't want to speak on the phone a long time or whatever method of conversation it is. Even if you're meeting in person, they may have to go to another meeting or whatever. So if you're dealing with a legislator, a lawmaker, a business person, you want to keep the conversation short and to the point, so they can quickly see in a couple sentences. If it's like an email format, they can quickly see what the conversation is about, what the ask is, or what's going on with it. If you're approaching like just a personal person, then that's different, right? You can be more conversational, you can add more to the story. And also when you're thinking about approach, you may want to let the person on the other end, right, kind of dictate how you approach. So you could call someone, and this is just not even a categorical call, this is just anybody. If you call someone or you're meeting with them, they're like, hey, I only got like 5 minutes, then cool, you need to have like bullet point information to be able to get them really quick and let them know something. If it's like you call them and it's like, yeah, I really want to know more about this, you can have a little bit more conversation to explain something to them and have a little bit longer of a conversation. So that's just something I would keep in mind when you're dealing with either personal or professional contacts. Fifth, I think my communication tip is to thank people for the conversation, whether it's by letter, email, whether it's by in person, or whatever the case is. Let people know you really appreciate them and it comes from a genuine place. So if that's reaching out again, and sometimes with that, thanking them for, if it's a call, thank you for answering and talking to me about this, or thank you for meeting with me, whatever the case is. I also try to tie in with that debriefing. So if it was a long conversation or something like that, or if there was a lot of checklist stuff, like you were going to do this and I was going to do that, like just kind of debriefing with them, which is also another form of clarification. So if you've already asked for clarification, you may not want to be redundant in doing that, but sometimes debriefing helps to just be like, man, I'm really glad we covered this, this, and this. And now I think moving forward, this, this, and this. So you can even throw next steps in there, depending on whatever the conversation is about. So this is Ian with Kentucky Spin, and I hope those tips were helpful. Hopefully those things can help you have better conversations, more effective conversations, and conversations that get you closer to whatever the goal of it is. All right, until next time, peace.